people saying stop that violence are causing mental health issues? Are you for real?
Everyone, welcome to another video.
Welcome. Thanks so much for watching. If you're not already, you can subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Today we're responding to a new article from The Guardian about Joaquin Phoenix.
It's a beauty. Let's get into it.
Veganism row breaks out after Joaquin Phoenix is told, "Be kinder to farmers." The tagline reads, "Claim that celebrity campaigns cause enormous damage draws ire from animal rights groups."
Well, right from the start, I really like how they're acknowledging that people speaking out against animal abuse and speaking up for animal rights is causing enormous damage. That's a good thing for animals, the victims, other people, and of course the environment.
And it also highlights the influence that celebrities can have, when they use their platforms.
Yeah.
He has been called a diva and pretentious, and there are even those who don't like his acting.
How is that even possible?
I know. But never before has Joaquin Phoenix been accused of causing mental health problems for British livestock farmers.
This is an absolutely classic example of what farmers do all the time. They play the victim. They play the victim in this scenario. The real victims are the animals. They're the ones that are being bred into existence to have absolutely miserable lives. They're solely brought into this world for the production of either flesh or secretions.
They're enslaved, they're mutilated, they have their babies stolen, they're artificially inseminated, aka sexually assaulted, and they ultimately have their throats slit and heads chopped off.
So they're the victims in this whole scenario. Now, can, I don't want to use the word livestock farmers, can animal farmers have mental health issues? Yes, absolutely. But I do think we need to keep perspective that the victims here are never the farmers, they are the animals.
On Tuesday, the National Farmers Union, NFU President Minette Batters changed all that, opening a new front against the US actor by claiming that he and other celebrity campaigners for veganism had played a part in demonising the UK's meat producers and doing enormous damage to their well-being.
Good. I'm glad it's causing enormous damage. Interestingly, she's talking about UK meat producers. Now, at the Oscars, Joaquin's speech was specifically talking about the dairy industry, but I'm glad that she's putting the meat industry in the same basket because the meat and dairy industries, they're basically the same thing.
That's right.
So, yeah.
You have the baby male cows that are killed because they can't produce milk, and then you have the female dairy cows who are killed ultimately when their milk production declines.
Yeah, and the female dairy cows that are killed, they're used for cheap hamburger meat, and the baby males, some of them are used for veal production. So it's the same thing. There's killing and there's consuming meat, dairy, same.
Days after the Joker actor's Oscars speech attacking the meat industry...
Don't you love that? Attacking. Did he shoot anyone in their head and slit their throat? Because that's what I would call attacking. What do you think? I mean,
the animals are the ones being attacked, exactly. Since when he's telling the truth about what happens in an industry, attacking that industry?
Yeah,
it's only considered that way by the industry because it's going to affect their profit.
Yeah, there's nothing that he said that
wasn't factually true.
Right, he didn't fabricate anything. He was just spelling out exactly what happens. We steal her baby, which we do, so we can take her milk for our coffee and our cereal. That's a fact.
That's right. Batters said farmers fearing the imminent loss of their livelihoods and family holdings were in a state of stress and anxiety.
Okay, so here, straight away, we get to the problem for farmers. It is the fear of losing their livelihoods, aka money. It's business. They are worried about losing their business. They're not worried about the actual victims losing their lives. They're worried about losing money.
And all they have to do is change their product line.
Yeah.
They don't have to lose their business or lose their livelihood. They're just changing their product line and making money a different way.
Yeah.
Just like many other industries that are now considered antiquated and were replaced with more technologically advanced systems of production.
Yeah.
That's it.
And also, doesn't this highlight how fragile the animal agriculture industry is? If a celebrity gets up and makes a, 3-minute speech and all of a sudden they've caused this huge amount of stress and anxiety and there's all this controversy and everyone's kind of breaking down, it really only takes a 3-minute speech from one person, and his entire speech was not about animal agriculture, let's remember that. He was talking about many other issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
So It's strange.
And in terms of stress and anxiety, if you want to see what that looks like, have a look at something like Dominion, free here on YouTube, and then you'll see what stress and anxiety really looks like. The animals in the animal agriculture industry are stressed and anxious, to say the least. Asked at the union's annual conference who she thought was driving the view that meat was bad and plants were good, she said a lot of people who seemed to hit the red carpet at the BAFTA Awards.
Now, this is extraordinary because I don't recall anybody else speaking about animal rights.
Nor do I. I would love to know if they did. Please let us know in the comments down below, and if you could link the article that references that, that'd be great.
But specifically at the BAFTA Awards, now the speech that Joaquin gave was not about animal agriculture. He was talking about systemic racism within the filmmaking industry. So I don't understand what she's talking about.
So if it wasn't Joaquin who spoke about animal rights at the BAFTA Awards, who else did?
I don't know.
She added, celebrities have to be careful because there are real life consequences for others.
Yes, there are. The animals, again, the animals are the victims. They're the ones who are being shot in the head and having their throat slit. Until that is happening to you, I mean, we really need to keep perspective once again. Yes, they do have real life consequences. This is the whole point of speaking up against injustice. What, we should all just be quiet and not say anything about injustice because we don't want the oppressors, those doing the violence, to be offended or stressed about maybe having to stop the violence or making money off the violence? This is insane.
It is. She goes on. Joaquin Phoenix, he's had a really challenging life and you really feel for him and a lot of the things he was saying. But he has to remember there are people at the end of this. There are small family farms and they get hurt too. If you want to look at who's getting hurt on small family farms in the UK, check out Land of Hope and Glory, also free to watch here on YouTube, linked in the description below.
Yeah.
You'll see that it's the animal victims who are really getting hurt.
And yeah, there are families at the end of this discussion, but again, this isn't, as Luke was saying earlier, this isn't, you have to be unemployed, we're just going to shut this whole industry down and you have no future. You have a future. We still need farmers. We need plants to be farmed, not animals. We're just switching the product. So what I don't understand is if farmers are so stressed out, why aren't they listening to the science? Why aren't they looking at the writings on the wall? This is an industry that is not sustainable. We've been told that for a long time. The United Nations came out, 10 years ago, saying in terms of like helping the environment and climate change, we need to drop meat and dairy. So as a farmer, if I was really worried about the future of my family and my farm and everything that was my livelihood, I would simply be saying, okay, well, let's do something about this. Let's take positive action. What are they saying to do? Switch to plant agriculture. That's where the money is, that's where the growth is, that's what's needed.
And also, if we think back to human slavery, slave plantations were also owned by small families in some cases, and they would have been financially disrupted with the abolition of slavery. But that didn't stop that from happening because as a society we realised, no, that is grossly unjust. So we need to do away with human slavery. Well, that's what we're saying as animal rights activists today when it comes to the slavery and the enslavement of non-human animals. It's unjust, it's unnecessary, so we need to do away with it. And as you said, farmers simply need to change their product lines. Yes, there might be some financial disruption in the short term, but
it's not as important as someone else's life. And I think what we need to really make clear here is that animal agriculture is the same across the board. It doesn't matter if it's on a large-scale industrial factory farm or a small-scale family farm. The practices are the same.
In fact, many of the practices used on industrialised large factory farms were first developed on small family farms.
Because family farms started first, right? And then industrial large factory farms came later on. But the whole idea of breeding animals into existence, branding them, mutilating them, everything that we do to them, stealing their babies, artificially inseminating them, and ultimately slaughtering them, that is the same process. Big farm, small farm, it doesn't matter. It's the industry. That's how they produce animal flesh and secretions for people to eat. That's how they make money. So it's not the size of the farm, it's what happens on the farm that needs to stop.
Her comments were immediately criticised by vegan and animal rights groups, who accused Batters of making claims without evidence and ignoring the ethical problems posed by meat production.
Yeah.
Exactly. Where is her evidence?
Yeah.
Veganism is something of an easy target at the moment, and I'm not sure that we are the cause of farmers' problems, said a spokesperson for the Vegan Society. There are many causes of mental health issues and stress in farming, and I haven't seen evidence, a piece of research, showing that veganism is one of them.
I kind of agree and kind of disagree with this comment. I think veganism is one of the causes of their stress, because as veganism is growing, people are eating less and less animal products, and so that is going to affect the bottom line of these farmers, and that would be stressful from a monetary point of view. So I do think veganism is part of causing that stress, but there would be so many other things. For example, the environment, like there's always drought or floods. There are environmental problems that are caused from, ironically, animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of environmental destruction. So climate change is affecting farmers, but farming is affecting climate change. So it's this vicious cycle.
And I was also going to add here that veganism is in part, yes, responsible for a decline in animal products or more people consuming plant products, but really the reduction is coming from reducitarians and flexitarians more so than vegans. Yes, the total number of vegans in the UK and other Western countries has increased, but as a percentage of the population it's remained relatively the same. The big change and impact for the animal products industry is coming from non-vegans who are reducing
and they're generally doing that for
products.
health reasons or for environmental concerns, because if they were doing it for ethics, well then they'd just stop eating animals altogether.
Exactly.
You can't be concerned about the well-being of animals while still eating animals.
And it could be that veganism is linked in that vegans are the ones helping to disseminate the information about the climate and health, for example. But, Phoenix, who has been a vegan since he was 3, made a plea for tolerance and equality in his acceptance speech for the Best Actor award at the Oscars, saying no race, gender or species had rights over another.
How is that causing mental health problems for people? That is like the most basic concept that we should all be living by. Why would that cause someone stress and anxiety? Oh, hold on. Is it because they're profiting off not being tolerant towards others on this planet? Because they're enslaving and basically breeding animals to be murdered?
Yeah, what about the mental health issues experienced by the victims of the social injustices that Joaquin was speaking out about?
Exactly.
Right? I think we've become very disconnected from the natural world, he said. We go into the natural world and we plunder it for its resources. We feel entitled to artificially inseminate a cow and steal her baby, even though her cries of anguish are unmistakable. Then we take her milk that's intended for her calf and we put it in our coffee and our cereal.
Again, this is a fact. This is a fact. He's not making anything up. Now, if a farmer is experiencing mental health issues because someone is actually verbalizing what the farmer is doing, then maybe the farmer needs to stop what he's doing. Maybe that's highlighting there is a problem with artificially inseminating a cow and stealing her baby. Right? If there's nothing wrong with doing that, then why are the words of someone saying it affecting you mentally? They're affecting you mentally because people are going to stop buying your product and you don't want to lose business, and that affects how you live. Again, someone's life is more important than your bank account.
And if you change the product line, you'll still be making as much money, if not more so, because the plant-based meat and dairy and egg industry is booming and worth tens of billions of dollars and is projected to only grow in the future. So veganism continues to grow in popularity in the UK, with supermarkets clearing shelf space for plant-based ready meals and meat-free dining in restaurants and pubs now commonplace.
It is the future.
I remember one night we went out for dinner in the UK, was it last year or the year before, actually, on our activism tour, and there were like 6 restaurants all offering vegan options within a short walking distance. It was a plethora of choice.
There's no excuse these days. It's so easy.
Other celebrities who have spoken about the health benefits of plant-based diets are Benedict Cumberbatch, Ellie Goulding and Beyonce, with their support credited with aiding a rise in veganism's popularity.
Good.
Batters said she was not saying veganism is wrong, but argued that the debate around animal products had become so binary that meat was being put in the same category as tobacco.
You know, it really is a black and white issue. You're either slitting someone's throat or you're not. You either think that slitting someone's throat unnecessarily is good or you don't. And then you simply align your actions with those values. It is literally black and white. And for the victims, it just couldn't be more clear. They don't want it to happen. They resist. They fight back. They let us know through their screams and their cries, don't kill me. I want to live my life freely in peace, the way I deserve, the way any of us want to live.
She can't possibly be saying that veganism is wrong because it's not. How can not participating in the needless exploitation of sentient living beings be wrong?
Exactly.
You know? And she's saying meat was being put in the same category as tobacco. Yes, it has been, but not by vegans, by the World Health Organization, which is not a vegan organization.
If you've got a problem with that, go and speak to the scientists.
That's right. Processed meat has been categorized as a Group 1 carcinogen, and tobacco happens to be in that same group. And I believe red meat is a Group 2 carcinogen.
Right.
She goes on, I remember the interview I did with Evan Davis on PM to talk about the government's new food strategy, and he said, is eating meat the new smoking? He compared us with the tobacco industry, and you think, whoa, just think about all of this.
Yeah, exactly. Just think about all of this.
And then act on the information at hand. And the information at hand from the climate scientists, from the World Health Organization, are all saying, vegan diet it is.
Yep.
But the Vegan Society questioned whether its members were really so influential, pointing out that the total number of vegans in the UK was still only 600,000, and saying the fact is 99% of the population are still eating animal products. There might be a lot more meat reducers, but this is not an industry that has been threatened by veganism.
That's exactly what you were saying earlier on. Yeah.
Dawn Carr, the Director of Vegan Corporate Projects at People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, said farmers were not the only ones feeling anxious. We can't turn a blind eye to the visible fear and distress shown by animals raised for their flesh, milk and eggs, she said. And I'll add there, animals also used for entertainment, for clothing, for testing, and within the pet industry, all of which you can see for yourself by watching Dominion, linked in the description below. They have no choice. But farmers do. Exactly.
Farmers can walk away from this. They can stop, they can end their stress and anxiety by switching the product line.
Hence, how are they more of a victim than the actual animal victims whom they're oppressing, who have no choice?
They can't escape. They try to escape.
Yeah,
they try.
They try to resist their oppression, but ultimately they're more vulnerable and less able. I mean, there's a reason why we farm cows and sheep and chickens, for example, and not hyenas, tigers and lions.
Right.
They'd be more able to resist their oppression, wouldn't they? Instead of sending sentient animals to slaughter, they can sow oats or soya beans or grow vegetables, grains, nuts or fruits instead, depending on the quality of their land.
Yep, we don't need farmers to disappear, we just need them to change the product line.
That has called for kindness to be shown to farmers and an understanding that they were human too. It's very polarised and it's doing enormous damage to the mental health of livestock farmers, she said. Yes, it's polarised because it is a black and white issue. There is no moral justification for needlessly killing a sentient being who doesn't want to die. That's what makes it black and white. That's why animal rights activists are so impassioned, because it is a black and white issue. There is no grey when it comes to the victim.
It's the most simple thing to do. It's the most simple choice to make. Now, causing enormous damage to the mental health of livestock farmers. So when you refer to them as livestock, and them I mean the victims, the animals, what you're doing is you are stripping away their identity. You are saying these things are nothing more than units of production. And that's exactly what the farmers are doing. And that's exactly why they're so affected, because they're looking at this as a production. This is a business. This is my money. They're not concerned about each individual sentient being. They are seen as commodities. Now, I'm going to go as far as to say that I really believe that animal farmers already have mental health issues. Because how can you, for example, how can you rip the testicles off a screaming baby with no pain relief? How can you clip their ears, cut their teeth, dog their tails whilst they're screaming and not be mentally affected by that? If a child did to a puppy what farmers do to the animals that we're told are okay to eat, that child would be institutionalised. They would have professional help, they would be medicated, and they would be deemed a danger to themselves and to others. And yet when adults do it to certain other animals, all of a sudden it's farming, and people saying stop that violence are causing mental health issues. Are you for real? How can you shove your arm into the anus of another sentient being who is resisting to force her to be pregnant, does that not cause mental health issues? How can you take a sledgehammer, for example, and smash the skull of a newborn baby calf? That is legal. It is legal and is actually, described of how to do it on the Australian government website for the state of Queensland. How can you do those things and not have mental health issues? How can you slam piglets against the concrete to kill them because, there was something wrong with them when they were born or whatnot? Just all these things that are standard industry practice, not illegal. How does that not equate to mental health issues?
But Joaquin Phoenix, though, please. Now, farmers will claim that there's nothing wrong with what they do to animals. Now, if that were the case, then we could show you what farmers do to animals, which have been documented in such films as Land of Hope and Glory from the UK, and also a recent dairy industry expose from the UK, both by Surge Activism, which we'll link in the description below. Also Dominion, the film from Australian animal agriculture, or Earthlings, predominantly from the United States. Now, if we tried to show you the footage that Natasha just described, which is standard industry practices, this video would be censored. Okay, now if there's nothing wrong with it, then why would they censor it? You have to ask yourself that question. If there's nothing wrong with what farmers do to animals as standard industry practice, why is it censored if we try to include that footage?
Who do you think the real victims are here? Who do you think are the ones that are living in a stressed, anxious, just mental breakdown state, living this nightmare, this hell day after day? Animals, they even chew the bars. They go insane. You want to talk about mental health issues? Look at pigs who chew the bars that they're kept behind. They start to cannibalize each other. They're in hell.
And if you're put off by any of what Natasha's saying and you don't want to watch it, well, then you have to ask yourself, do I have the right to continue to pay for it if I'm not prepared to watch what the animals are forced to endure?
And even if you do watch it, you still don't have the right to pay for that to happen to someone else.
Because there is no moral justification for needlessly killing a sentient being who doesn't want to die. And it is needless.
Exactly.
There is no need for animal products.
No. So talking about this, raising the issue, be it us or be it celebrities at the Oscars or whoever, that does not cause mental health problems. That does not cause stress and anxiety.
That helps
is
reduce
the truth.
them. It's going to help reduce them by eliminating these industries which are causing the stress and the fear and the anxiety and the killing.
Yeah.
And exploitation and slavery.
Why would farmers want to stay in this industry? Like, if they're being told by scientists and environmentalists that this is not good for the planet, this is not sustainable, wouldn't you want to get out now and make your life a lot easier?
But we fear
enjoyable?
change. We're hardwired to fear change. But the only thing certain in life are death, taxes, and change. And we've seen other industries in the past come and go because they're outdated, antiquated. We have technological improvements.
Mm-hmm. And another thing to consider, of course, from the health aspect, right now we've got the coronavirus. What's the root cause of that? We spoke about it in another video recently. Animals.
Being confined in places like wet markets, for example.
Okay, we had bird flu, we had, what else was there?
Swine flu.
There was something else we mentioned earlier.
Ebola, which was originally linked to bats infecting bush animals, which were then eaten as bushmeat. Mad
cow disease.
Foot and mouth disease. How many more of these diseases do we need to see? How many more ramifications from climate change do we need to see before we make the change that these leading organisations, which are not vegan, are urging us to all do?
All of those things are stressful. Those things are causing people to be anxious and have mental health problems. People are genuinely scared for the future, and they should be. So we can't just look at the comfortability, if you like, of a small group of people, aka farmers. We have to look at the whole picture here. All of us living on this planet together.
And again, once they change their product lines and go through that little period of adjustment,
of transition,
they'll be comfortable again because we've got an ever-growing world population and we all need to eat something, and the most sustainable thing to eat is to eat plants directly.
Exactly. All right, the last bit of this article.
She goes on, it's just about instilling this philosophy and being kind, and farmers we all need to think that too. In this world of social media, we just need to take a step back sometimes.
No, you don't need to take a step back. You need to take a step forward and stop causing unnecessary violence. Taking a step back would be continuing to support a dying industry. to support an unsustainable industry that causes immense pain and suffering to the majority of Earthlings, trillions of animals on this planet. That's a step back.
And I'm also thinking about Joaquin Phoenix. How could he be any kinder? There was a video that came out recently where he visited a slaughterhouse and he rescued a mother and baby cow and he hugged the slaughterhouse owner. They hugged and embraced. What is more kind than that?
You will not find a more gentle, loving, open-hearted advocate for animals than Joaquin Phoenix. He emanates love. That is his essence. You know, sometimes saying the truth is being kind. Propping people up, giving them a crutch to do the wrong thing is not kindness. That's just absolute stupidity. It's unsustainable, it's bad for farmers, it's bad for humans, it's bad for the planet, it's bad for our health, and it's bad for the animal victims. Telling people it's okay and giving them a pat on the back for doing that, for being part of that industry, is not helping anyone. That's not kindness. It's irresponsible. It's irresponsible and it needs to stop.
So there are our thoughts on the article. We'd love to know what your thoughts were. Please put them down in the comments below. We'd love to read them and I'm sure others would too. Let's get a discussion started.
It really gets you angry, doesn't it? Like, I just feel... Tell us your thoughts. I'm taking a break. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and also share it around because we desperately want people to hear this message, especially those who are still eating animal products.
And remember until next time that going vegan is not the most we can do.
It is the absolute least we can do. See you next video.
Bye everyone.